Welcome, thank you for watching. I'm the host, John Hotchkiss. This is a special Be Less Stupid report. An exclusive investigation, America's border with Mexico, the bueno, the malo, and the feo, featuring indisputable facts, the absolute truth, the heroes of the United States Border Patrol, and exclusive footage that reveals the president's lies. He's not building a wall in San Diego, he's replacing a fence, and yet his base will still believe what Trump tells them, instead of what they see with their own eyes. God damn it! Hashtag sad. Now, before we continue, I would just like to encourage you to please subscribe to this channel and check out the nearly 200 previous episodes of Be Less Stupid. And please share this video on social media so that more people can know the truth. Thanks very much. Okay, moving on. Since the day that he announced his candidacy for president, Trump has, with calculation and intention, scared the shit out of his supporters by regularly telling them that they were going to die because Mexico was sending us their rapists and murderers.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Even worse, Trump said, they're bringing their smelly tacos, their scary finger tattoos and lowriders to live, rape, and murder in rural, nearly 100% white, small Kentucky towns. Instead of living in big, ethnically diverse, mostly liberal cities, where they were way more likely to find places to hide, rape and murder with impunity, and avoid the racial profiling of every two-bit boss hog and Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane. Now, once Trump got the base more terrified than the last half-naked cheerleader at the lake house in a Freddy Krueger film, Trump promised he had a plan to keep white people safe. And the best part was that Mexico was going to pay for it.
Build that wall, build that wall, build that wall, build that wall.
Only here's the thing. Once Mexico and our Congress refused to pay for the wall, Trump did precisely what you'd expect. He went on Dr. Phil, admitted President Shithole wasn't a Muslim, confessed to colluding with Russia and with having the hots for Ivanka, and begged America to accept his apology. No, of course not. Trump did what Trump always does. He lied to us.
Now, a lot of people don't know it, but we've already started the wall. We got $1.6 billion, and we've started large portions of the wall.
Trump's border wall lie reached its crescendo during an Oval Office press conference on Christmas Day. He said something about ho, 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 and just out of habit, Don Jr. told Michael Cohen to send another $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. Actually, what Trump did, he did more than 10 times. He repeatedly told Pelosi and Schumer that the U.S. already has built huge sections of the wall and that it's working bigly to keep the murderers and the scary tattoos out of the U.S.
Tremendous amounts of wall have already been built, and we've done a lot of work. In San Diego, we're building new walls right now, and we've, right next to San Diego, we've completed a major section of wall.
Now, it isn't often that any one particular person can, with 100% absolute certainty, prove that Trump is lying. Well, except in this case, I knew that I was uniquely qualified to do just that, to prove Trump was lying, and even his base would believe it too. Why? Because last year, while reporting on the construction of the prototype border walls, the Department of Homeland Security also arranged for me to go on a ride-along with the United States Border Patrol.
Infrastructure works.
Infrastructure
works. There's, I can show you numbers that I can prove to you that it's worked.
One of the places that I went along the San Diego sector of the U.S. border was to the precise spot where Trump was now saying the new wall was being built.
Yes, people try and cross all throughout our sector. This is Tijuana estuary. This is protected wetlands. So it is a lot more thicker brush, and we have a lot more area to actually work. We have a scope which is behind our position that can actually look up to 6 miles into the ocean and covers all this area as well. We have horse patrol that patrols this area, and also ATVs, all-terrain vehicles.
So, 2 days after Christmas, I went back. On the U.S. side, in this area, adjacent to the Pacific Ocean, the area is both a park where people can hike and ride horses, and it's a protected wetlands area. On the Mexican side, there's a stadium and an upscale beach community. This is the construction site that Trump was talking about. It's on the border and about 200 yards from the ocean.
Hey, this is John Hotchkiss. I'm the host of Be Less Stupid. And right now I am standing in the spot where the president says that he is building a border wall. And let me be 100% clear. They are not building a border wall. I'll say it again. They are not building a border wall. What the government is currently doing is replacing some fencing that was about 6 or 7 feet high with some fencing that is now about 12 or 14 feet high.
And as you can see, the work crew is putting up a fence that's between 20 and 30 feet high, located right on the border. And you can tell that it's not a wall because, well, it's not a wall, it's very clearly a fence. And it looks nothing like any of the border wall prototypes that Trump spent $3.5 million on last year. Also, it's very clearly a fence and not a wall. So when Trump said all that crap about building a wall,
Tremendous amounts of wall have already been built, and we've done a lot of work. In San Diego, we're building new walls right now.
that was a lie. There's no wall, not in San Diego, not anywhere on the US border. When Trump says he's building a wall, he's replacing old fence. Also, walls cost money. Money is appropriated by the House of Representatives, and they have not authorized any money to build a wall. But wait, there's more. There are a lot of things that Trump is doing to manipulate public opinion about border security. Let's dive in right now. Back to 2017, there was a fence here previously, only it was shorter, without slats to see through. That's what's being replaced. The old 6 to 10 foot tall sheets of corrugated metal that were installed for the first time directly on the border in the early 90s as a way to restrict the movement of unlawful immigrants and drugs. Before the 90s, yes, there were checkpoints manned by guards at numerous official border crossings, but there were only occasional fences erected along the almost 2,000-mile border with Mexico. The fences were mostly used to stop the trans-border movement of cattle and to just indicate the official boundary between the US and Mexico. Okay, back to the present. Of the near 2,000-mile-long border, there are obstacles or fences along about 500 or so miles. That's it. In mountainous areas that are hard to reach on foot, there is often either no fence at all or just these sawhorse-type barriers meant to stop vehicular traffic. In low-trafficked border areas, there's usually just one fence, like here, along the border that divides Tecate, California from Tecate, Mexico. However, things are different along the highly trafficked sections of the border. Those are the areas that abut large Mexican cities. In those areas like San Ysidro and Laredo, Texas, Border Patrol takes a layered approach to border security, meaning the area actually has two fences. There's the one fence directly on the border. And then there's this other fence, a second fence that's about 20 to 30 feet north. The second fence is about 14 feet high. The top 4 feet or so are cantilevered facing south, making it harder to climb over. And in many areas you can find concertina wire that adds to the safety. And I'm guessing that at night, people will try and climb over the fence on the left and then cut through the fence here on the right.
They'll climb or they'll dig a rudimentary tunnel underneath it, and then they'll cut the secondary fence. Secondary fence is still mesh. This is anywhere from 14 to 18 feet high with concertina wire in this area right here. It is compromise, meaning cut almost every day. We average one about every day.
The point of the two fences is that if the first fence is breached,
So imagine having to do all of this running. Only it's nighttime and you can't see. And you're running from someplace where there's abject poverty. And now you're trying to come someplace to do a job that Americans don't want to do. They can't get white people to pick strawberries for $10 an hour.
The point of the two fences is that if the first fence is breached, the in-between area, which can sometimes be between 50 and 100 feet wide, has a number of safety features: stadium lighting, cameras, and motion detectors. Plus, they're patrolled by border agents in cars, on ATVs, and horseback.
White, unmarked Suburban with 1012 from Britannia Gate to Echo 1.
Wow, this is cool. So, once the Border Patrol detects a breach of the first fence, their goal is to reach the offending immigrants before they breach the second fence. But it doesn't always happen that way.
Well, Border Patrol actually patrols in between supports of entry. Anybody coming into the United States is required to present themselves for inspection at a port of entry with OFO, Office of Field Operations, which is customs. If you're not going through a port of entry and you're going somewhere else, which would be through the mountain desert, there's a reason why. I wouldn't let anybody just in my house.
That said, the number of illegals caught sneaking into the U.S. along the 61 miles of San Diego sector has dropped to historically low numbers, from a high of 500,000 in the early 90s to just 26,000 in 2017. And the other border sectors have seen similar drops in apprehensions. So, not only are the number of immigrants trying to sneak into the U.S. at historic lows, but in this area in particular, where Trump is taking old fence and replacing it with new fence, it's important to know that the second fence has been part of border protection for at least 10 years. So, in an effort to score political points with his base, Trump has spent millions to replace one fence with another fence in an area that has already seen historic drops in border crossings.
This is a more affluent neighborhood, one of the affluent neighborhoods in Tijuana. This is Playas de Tijuana. As you can see, the houses are a lot bigger, and there's no trash on the north side. We don't have the concertina wire on our secondary wall. That's for multiple reasons. One of them is that we don't have the same issue with Colonia Libertad. I'm sorry, with Playas de Tijuana as we have with Colonia Libertad in other parts of San Diego sector.
But that is not all. There are even more manipulations of public perception. Things that you can only know having actually been to this particular spot.
There is no border wall. Let me be 100% clear about that.
First, historically, this area in particular has been a terrible place to cross, because once you get into the US, there's really nowhere to hide. Remember, it's 5 to 6 square miles of open marshland. Nowhere to hide. Plus, the Border Patrol is stationed on a hill, and they can easily spot you by looking down. The area is patrolled by agents on horseback and ATV, as well as with drones, heat sensors, and motion detectors. Second, on the Mexican side of the border is a wealthy community that doesn't tolerate people traipsing through their yard. Because this community is so wealthy, they have excellent police protection and rapid response. So this significantly reduces the number of people who attempt to cross in this particular location. That's not to say people don't cross here. They do, but the numbers are comparatively low. And this fence doesn't address the real problem, which I'm going to get to in the next episode of this series.
one of the biggest problems with illegal immigration actually happens right here at this crossing, where thousands upon thousands of trucks every day come from Mexico into the U.S. Now, back to the fence in San Ysidro. This is a relatively easy area to do construction. Not only is the topography mostly flat, but there are already roads to get here. However, the vast preponderance of the border is in a more remote area. Areas that aren't just hilly, but rather are mountainous. And there's no infrastructure built yet to get heavy equipment there. No roads. Okay, so this is part 2 of a 3-part series on the United States border. In part 1, I showed you all the reasons why a wall won't work. You can find a link to that episode in the description below. And next week I'll be releasing part 3, where I reveal the real source of the problem with illegal immigration and how illegal drugs get into the United States.
And I'm standing, well, at the United States border with Mexico in Otay Mesa, California. And behind me is the route that trucks use after they cross our border from Mexico. Again, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and to share this video. For Be Less Stupid, I'm the host, John Hotchkiss. Thank you again, all of you, for watching. I'll see you next week.